Edition LLC. I was trying to figure out where I saw those containers, those stacks and stacks of containers of combustible spray paint, and it was in part two. I think it was in part one. So keep in mind, this is a fellow by the name of, he calls himself Crow now. He used to be Crow 1176, but he tried to change his name to something else. Anyway, he caught himself trying to make our Black Series Edition screen paint product, and he failed miserably in the process. The reason why he failed miserably in the process is because the first mix he tried to make, he added some white paint into it, and the white and silver made the product gray. Actually turned it gray, which I told him that was going to happen either way, because that's not how you make black technology. So this is the paint that he used the first time, and it didn't work out well. So he deleted the video. He got rid of it. And again, we went in, we found the video was going off his account, and then he tried to make the product again, second time around. This time, I found something really interesting in the video that I saw. So again, his apartment is basically extremely dangerous. This, and I don't want him to, at the end of the day, think that this is a way we're retaliating for trying to make our products. No, this has nothing to do with that. The fact that you live in an apartment, you are putting people at risk, and you're putting people at danger because you have a combustible item in your apartment. People do not store spray paint in their environments unless you have an art studio, something designed for that, maybe a workshop. But this is an apartment. This is not a workshop. So he has people that are living around him, and he has these combustible items. This is where I saw multiple cans of spray paint in his home. This is in his living room, directly in his living room. So if you look over here, you'll see in the corner, these are multiple cans of spray paint, which again should not be stored in that apartment or in the living quarters, such like so, because it is extremely dangerous. Not only is he putting himself at danger, his family at danger, but he's also putting the people around him at danger of having cans and cans of aerosol spray paint cans in his apartment. On top of that, making products in the apartment. Now, again, we do make products in the apartment, but as I said before, all our stuff is made to order. We make enough for that order. Once it is completed, we have nothing else in here, no backup paints, nothing. We are done, we move on, and that's the end of it. We have nothing else in here. Other than that, he has products in here that are clearly extremely dangerous for his tenants, people around him, also too for his family members. There it is. Told you, I saw it right there in the corner. I don't know how many cans of spray paint you have in there, buddy, but you're not supposed to have that in there. You're not supposed to have that kind of spray paints or any kind of spray paints in your environment like that, period. In an apartment where you're living at, you're not supposed to have that. That's a clear violation of your lease. It's also a violation of basically the license inspection, any kind of fire marshal. It's seriously violation. You're not supposed to have rows and rows. Now, if you have an art studio, something that is basically registered for that type of work of what you're doing, yeah, then you can have all that stuff in there. You have a house, yeah, you can have that in there. You can put it, most people have paints, they put it either in the basement or they put it in the garage. You're not going to walk in someone's house and you're going to have a cabinet full of spray paint. You're not supposed to have that in there to begin with. That's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Just say if one of those cans were in the process of imploding, just one of them. You know the chain reaction that would go off with all those cans one after the next exploding in that apartment? That is extremely dangerous. I'm pretty sure you don't run your air conditioner all year round. Well, not all year round, but you're actually in California, so it's quite warm out there. So when you leave to go on vacation, do you have the air conditioner running? If you don't, that means that apartment basically starts to heat up. And if it starts to heat up and you got aerosol cans in there, you run the risk of those things exploding. I'm going to tell you something, buddy. I believe in giving everybody a chance. I have friends in California who work in those particular fields that can show up at your front door. They can citate your landlord. They can citate you, and you can be evicted from your apartment. I'm going to give you some time to get that mess out of there, to clean up that mess and get it out of there, because that's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. And if he sits there and says, well, it's in an air conditioner climate, not all the time, it's not. If you go on vacation, if you go to work and no one's here, I'm pretty sure you're not burning your air conditioner 24 hours around the clock to accommodate a couple of cans of paint. I'm pretty sure that air conditioner is shut off. And if it's shut off and that environment heats up, you run the risk of basically one of those cans blowing up. So you need to remove that stuff out of there. That's extremely, extremely dangerous. Like you got about 1, 2, 3. You got a bunch of cans in there. There's cans in the back. There's cans in the front. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's got to be at least about 20 cans or so in here. You got 20 cans of spray paint in your apartment, in your living room area? Yeah, that's a violation from the door. You can be evicted just for that. Like I said, I'm pretty sure your landlord doesn't even know this. And if he does know this and he's allowing you to get away with this, the tenants around you can file a class action joint lawsuit against you and also to your landlord. That's very dangerous. So you need to get that out of there altogether, period. Put all that, because again, like I said, if you look at his apartment, and I'm not busting on that guy's apartment, you look at his apartment, it's a hoarder, it's a hoarder convention there. There's stacks and stacks of papers and projectors and stuff. Oh, projectors have inside of them, they have, what's that stuff called? Mercury. They have mercury in them. So I don't run the risk of anything here exploding and making contact with the projectors. But you having that chemical in there, and those projectors also too, that's extremely dangerous. And that stuff sparks a fire at the end of the day. You got all that stuff packed in corners. That's a death trap in there. Not only for you, but for the people around you. You have literally put other people in danger by doing that. You need to remove that out of your apartment. Matter of fact, you need to go in there and get a storage unit and worry about buying stuff over and over again. You need to clean that apartment, all them corners, so they can be shown. People can see those corners, and you need to get this freaking stuff out of here because it shouldn't be in here to begin with. If someone has, well, you had a house. Yeah, I had a house with a basement, which means that's where it was stored at. People store paint in two sections. They store it in a garage or they store it in the basement. I've never walked in someone's house and seen droves and droves of spray paint all over the place inside their home, unless they were doing something they shouldn't have been doing. When you get an art studio basically has a particular license, chemical license sitting on top of it that basically gives you the right to make certain chemicals within that environment right there. I forgot the name. It's a certain license zone. It's a zone. It's what it is. It's a licensed zone. Basically allows you to make an industrial zone or whatever, allows you to develop chemicals or whatever in that particular zone. So it has to be zoned for that. You don't have the proper zoning to have those chemicals in there. You can get into a lot of trouble for that. You have more freedom with a house, but in an apartment, you're liable for the other tenants around you. So that is definitely extremely dangerous. And I know for a fact that when you go on vacation or whatever you do at the end of the day, your air conditioner's not on. I'm surprised that place hasn't blown up already. I'm really surprised it hasn't. Because you turn your air conditioner off. Who the freak runs their air conditioner while they're on vacation? Who does that? So I guarantee you this video is going to go missing. This video is going to go missing for two reasons why. It's going to go missing because this is clear presentation danger. He has these products in his home. He shouldn't have these in here to begin with. That's one reason why it's going to go missing. Second one, because again, we're going to be making this on camera today too, and this is going to fail also too. But this video also is going to go missing. But before it goes missing, we're going to make sure we get plenty of pictures of this section right in here because I need to send it over to my friend today. I had no idea you had that much spray paint. You can have like maybe a can of paint here and there, maybe one can of paint. People are going to have that in an apartment. But you're talking about, it's about 20 cans of spray paint back there. And spray paint, again, is a combustible item. It's in a pressurized can. And you have that in an apartment. People may have one can of spray paint in an apartment, maybe two. That's about 20 cans back there. That's definitely a violation. You're not supposed to store spray paint in your home. You have it someplace else. You have it basically in the garage, or you have it someplace else, but you don't have that in there. You can call it a Karen all you want. You can call it a Karen all you want. So it's a Karen at the end of the day that this man should be allowed to basically have combustible products while he's living around other people. So you're saying that if that stuff explodes, then at the end of the day, someone may have kids in the apartment somewhere, the kids die in that process. That makes me a Karen? No, it doesn't make me a Karen at the end of the day. It makes me a person that's concerned about the people at the end of the day. No, because at the end of the day, you can argue all you want about that. The fact that you're coming in here and you're arguing about this simply tells you at the end of the day that you don't care about anybody else but yourself. Who the freak is going to sit there and argue about basically having combustible items in their apartment? You might just have a crystal meth lab in that if you're going to be going down that road. So you're mad and upset because you feel that you should be able to have 20 to 30 containers of combustible spray paint in your environment while you're living around other people. Then you should have a right to do that. Then go get a house then. Go get a house or go get a workshop. But you can't have that in an apartment. Or it's trying to pull the Karen card at the end of the day. No, you just don't have no consideration for other people. I make spray paint. I make screen paint at the end of the day too myself. But I don't have in my kitchen containers and stuff stacked all over cabinets, and we don't have all that nonsense over here. It's made to order. Because I got other people living around me at the end of the day. But that stuff right there, even when you spray it, becomes airborne. I hope he's not spraying it inside the house. I'm going to look up your videos on basically, you better never be spraying it. If you're spraying that stuff inside of that apartment, that's also extremely dangerous, and you can't do that. So that stuff becomes airborne. You ever spray paint? You can smell it right through the next room. It's a very toxic smell. So I'm hoping you're spraying it outside. You got a garage storage area. I've seen those apartments. They have garages on the bottom of it. You can literally put that in it. That paint should not be in that apartment at all, period. And you can call the Karen all day long. It shouldn't be in there, period. I guarantee if you were living over top that apartment right now, you wouldn't be saying the same thing either, would you? No, you wouldn't. Shouldn't have it in there to begin with. I don't know what's worse. The fact that he has that many chemicals in there. Look at that. That's a lot. Well, let's put it this way. He's got an option. His option is get it out of there, clear out that mess out of his apartment, clean up that apartment because that apartment's absolutely a mess. You got 2 cats, a dog, and a family living in an apartment that looks like out of Hoarders. It's packed in there. And then you got combustible items. That is a fantastic combination for a fire. Unless he's running the air conditioners 24/7 to accommodate that paint and air quality, air temperature environment. And other than that, if it gets too cold in there, those cans could explode. If it gets too hot in there, those cans could explode. You read the warning signs on a container of spray paint? He could pull one of those cans out of there and it could be ready to erupt. And that thing could basically go off in his face. Well, take it any way you want. The bottom line, at the end of the day, if he doesn't get out of there, I'm going to make a phone call to a friend. And he'll show up at his front door. And he can talk to him. Except for when they come to that front door, it'll be too late. He shouldn't have it in there at all. Can't store. You can store. It's even dangerous to have 1 can in there at that. It's even dangerous. But he's got about at least 20 cans in that cabinet, probably more. Look at that. I'm pretty sure the people who paid rent to live in that building didn't pay rent to basically have their apartments blown to bits or burned to the ground. I'm pretty sure they didn't pay for that. Well, if you come in here and you say there's nothing wrong with what he's doing, then you basically, at the end of the day, okay, so basically you're a chemical expert. You're going to tell me at the end of the day that you can store 20 cans of spray paint in your apartment. Is that what you're saying? It ain't nothing about so what. Oh, we got a couple people got their messages held. You know what happens when your message, this account is set up that, you know what happens when your messages get held, right? They go through review. I mean, somebody sent something, some nasty death threats in there. I don't care what you sent at the end of the day. It shouldn't be in there to begin with. You're not supposed to have 20 cans of spray paint inside of an apartment. It shouldn't be in there, period. It needs to be out of there. And if it's not out of there, I got a friend who works for license inspection. Also, when it works for fire marshal for inspection, I'll make a phone call to them. I'll send the pictures. We got the address, and they'll come through. It'll be out of that apartment by the end of the day. Because there are 2 things are going to happen. If the landlord knew about this and he was doing this, the landlord could be sued. He can also be in violation and be fined for it. There's certain things you can't have in your apartment at the end of the day. You're not supposed to have them in there because it's a danger to other people around you. Now, for those of you who say there's nothing wrong with it, then you don't mind that apartment blowing up and killing a couple kids in the process, right? You got no worries about that, right? Oh, I was just wondering. It is what it is, people. It is what it is. You're not supposed to have it in there, period. You're not supposed to have that much spray paint in your apartment like that, not to be like that. All right, I'm going to take some screenshots before this video goes missing, and I'm going to make a phone call today. I'm going to contact some people in that particular area. I can track and find his landlord. That's not hard to do because we know what he lives at. We know what the building's at, and we can also have a conversation with him about this mess because he's not supposed to have that in there. And it ain't about that. I sat there and said that right from the door. It's not, first of all, you can't make or paint. Okay, so get over that nonsense. You can't make the paint at all, period. Don't even try to use it. You want to get embarrassed on that today? Do I need to embarrass you on that today? You're already embarrassed already. You already deleted one video already. So he called himself at the end of the day making a product and deleted the video. Couldn't even explain what the water was for, and it comes around and says, oh, it's silky smooth. No. So he's already outed already. And Jamie, I see you in the room. I'm going to tell you something right now. You got a day to get that mess out of there. Get those containers out of the paint out of there. Shouldn't be in there. It needs to be in another. It shouldn't be in that apartment. And that apartment needs to be clean. I'm not trying to be rude and to embarrass you, but your apartment literally has stacks of books, papers, projectors, clothing, all shoved in the corners. It's a potential fire hazard in there. You got other people who live in that building besides you at the end of the day. If I'm living in that building and I'm walking in that building and I'm putting my kids to sleep, if I'm kissing my wife, if I'm alone, if I'm just chilling there, that's my place at the end of the day. I pay rent to live there. I don't pay rent to live in a place where someone's going to potentially put my life at risk. And that's what you're doing right there. You're putting other people's lives at risk. You're putting their kids at risk. I guarantee if anybody in that apartment found out that you had that place looking like that in there, they come in there and whip your behind because you're putting their families at risk. That's what you're doing. You need to get that mess out of your apartment. You know, it's supposed to have 20 cans of combustible spray paint in your apartment. And if your landlord approves of that at the end of the day, well, then guess what? I got a buddy who works for license inspection. Will come down and have a conversation with him about him allowing his attendants to have this kind of stuff in there because that's a potential nightmare that's going to trigger off. I don't care what you say at the end of the day. Don't care. You're not supposed to have that in your apartment. You know you're not supposed to have that in your apartment at all. That is dangerous, extremely dangerous. It ain't about the screen paint. It's not about that. Stop getting all Karen crying about it. It ain't about that. It's about you putting other people's lives. Because I didn't see it at first in the first demonstration. And then I was watching him make the paint. I was like, what the freak? I saw like, why in the world you got that many cans of spray paint in an apartment? You know how dangerous that is? So like I said, get it out of there. Get it out of there. Put it someplace else. Put it someplace else, at least where it's not going to be around the tenants at the end of the day. If you're spraying that stuff inside the apartment, I couldn't imagine the scent that's pushing through other people's apartments at the end of the day. And I ain't supposed to be spraying that stuff in there at all, period. Come on, man. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. Well, there's your option right there. Either you take care of it or I will. At the end of the day, I know if somebody has the potential of basically killing another human being at the end of the day in that apartment, you could hurt somebody pretty bad with this stuff. I'm going to call it out. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it. It's not about basically about you making my product. It has nothing to do with that. Off the record, nothing to do with that. This is about you having hazardous materials in your apartment, combustible items in your apartment that can literally harm other people in your building. That's what it's about. And if you can't see that and you want to argue with me about that, then the day, if your customers want to argue about that, then the day, then you guys are nothing but a bunch of potential losers. And I'll tell you why. Because you got other people who live in those apartments besides him. Jamie, you got kids. You should definitely know that if somebody puts your kid's life at danger, you're going to do everything you can to protect them. Then why the freak you got this nonsense sitting up in your apartment? Because I'm pretty sure there's other people in there with kids. Man, you're a freaking loser to have that stuff in there. Well, bottom line is, get it out of there or make the call. And you can explain the laugh emojis and all that other nonsense to the fire marshal and basically inspectors when they go through your property. Get it cleaned up. All right, then. I got to go, people. He can take it any way he wants. But at the end of the day, you know this is wrong. He's not supposed to have that much spray paint in there like that stacked on top of each other. You're not supposed to have that in there. All right, then. Well, then how about you do it this way, Jamie? How about you call license inspection and you have them take a tour of your apartment? How about that? How about that? How about that? How about you have license inspection take a tour of your apartment tomorrow? I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Will you have license inspection go through your apartment? Yes or no? I asked you a question. I didn't ask you that. Yes or no? Will you call license inspection? Like you said, if you think everything you have in here is okay, it doesn't put anybody in danger, you can call license inspection, have them come to your apartment. Yes or no? All right. The fact you're not replying back on that, you already know from the door that this stuff shouldn't be in here, and you know you shouldn't have it there to begin with. All right. Now, Rob, that's not you. I want to hear from Jamie right up there. Yes or no? You know we're going to check in on that. So tomorrow, wait a minute, no, tomorrow, you're going to show us documentation from license inspection agreeing that there's an appointment for them to come to your apartment. We're going to see documentation. Sorry, that's not Jamie. We want to hear from Jamie itself. All right, then it is what it is. I'll make the phone call. If you don't have it done, I'll have the call made already. All right, gave you the time. All right, bye-bye.